There are 43 quintillion possible combinations. Now imagine you have no websites, no books, and no one to show you how to solve it, because you invented it.
My name is Rubik. I made it.
It was 1974. 30-year-old Erno Rubik was just beginning his career in academia.
I was lecturing design and architecture. I was very ambitious to find new ways to teach them, especially about space and three dimension. I made a cube as a teaching aid and for myself to learn something from it.
Here's what it looked like when it was first released, and here's what it looks like now. How did we get here?
First version of his cube. It was made out of wood, and it was held together using elastic bands and paper clips. But eventually, he found a design that could have the blocks hold themselves together. He added one color to each side and began turning it. But he quickly discovered, for how simple it looked, he was unable to bring the colors back to the start. In fact, it took him a whole month to devise a method for solving his cube.
There is 26 small cubes. It looks the same, but in the structure of the cube, they have different rules.
Erno racked his brain for a strategy, twisting and turning the cube in his hands and his head to unlock his creation. And after a month, he cracked the code. But the story doesn't end there.
First, for us, it was very difficult to find partners at all because they said it's not, looks like a toy, and as a puzzle, it's very difficult. So why people buy something what they are not able to achieve.
Warning, once you get your hands on Rubik's Cube, you may never be able to put it down.
There's never been a puzzle quite like Rubik's Cube.
Erno Rubik patented his cube mechanism, and in 1977, it was being sold in Hungary as Bűvös Kocka, Magic Cube.
The cube was shown at various international toy fairs. Eventually, it was picked up by Ideal Toy Company and toy marketer Tom Kremer.
And it was renamed to Rubik's Cube. However, this name wasn't Erno Rubik's idea, but rather the company selling the cube.
And I call it Magic Cube because it's magic. Good evening.
The Rubik's Cube has taken the market by storm. Millions of cubes were sold, thousands were smashed, and a few were solved. The Rubik's Cube craze had hit.
In this country, there's no advertising at all. It gets more than enough publicity from the millions of words written about it by others.
The maths department of a bookshop is a strange place to find bestsellers, but in the last few months, at least 10 different titles have appeared telling you how to solve or just live with Rubik's Cube. And this book has been one of the publishing sensations of the year. You Can Do the Cube has been bought by more than 1 million people, making it the fastest seller since Lady Chatterley's Lover.
It's been featured in numerous films and TV shows.
Ooh, a Rubik's Cube. Let's all work it together.
Piece of cake.
Hello, my name is Rubik.
And there are competitions all over the world where people try to solve the cube in seconds.
My boyfriend can do it in 25. Says it's all in the wrist.
20 seconds, tops.
45 seconds. That's on a bad day.
I hate to brag, but it takes me 30 seconds. Don't ask me. I can't do it at all.
In 1982, the first cubing competition was held in Budapest, Hungary. 20 people competed, and the American Mintai won the comp with a 22.95 second solve. However, by the end of that year, the puzzle's popularity started going downhill. In 1984, cube sales plummeted and went from over 60 million a year from 1980 to 1983 to under 4 million in 1984. People lost interest in the cube, generating this immense crash in sales, as those that were intrigued already possessed one. For the next decade, the Rubik's Cube became that frustrating artifact of the early 1980s, which has been retired to the attic, the garbage heap. It's now the mid-90s and the internet just became big. People started publishing their methods of solving the puzzle. In 1996, Jessica posted her speedcubing page and explained her process of solving the challenge. This method was later called CFOB and is now the most popular method in speedcubing. This sparked a revival in cubing and led to the World Rubik's Games Championship in 2003. Almost 100 people competed, new events were added, and the 3x3 single and average records were broken. So, the World Cube Association was founded a year later, and from 2004 to 2007, more than 100 competitions were held, and the 3x3 single and average went down to 9.55 and 11.76 seconds respectively.
Competitions, I can say it's some kind of side effect. It's not something that I was targeting. My average time was 1 minute.
Cubing was rapidly growing in size and numbers, but there was one problem. The cubes sucked. And despite people's best efforts at lubing and modding a Rubik's brand, it still turned like an 18-wheel lorry. Thus, multiple cubing companies were founded. Diane was created in the early 2010s and released several iconic cubes like the Diane Guhong and the Diane Xianqi. These two releases were revolutionary at the time. To begin with, Diane has fallen off and has been replaced by Moyo and Gan as the best cubing manufacturers. But who was the best cuber? Well, it was none other than Felix Zemdegs, the greatest speed cuber of all time. Felix started competing in 2009 when he was only 13 years old. He broke the 3x3 Oceanic Continental record in his first competition. A year later, he broke the 3x3 world record single and average, and by the end of 2012, Felix got the single down to 5.66 seconds and the average down to 7.53 seconds. He is the perfect role model for aspiring cubers. This comment about Felix sums it up best.
WCA highlights for 2023. Max Park 3x3 world record 3:30, one of the most anticipated records of the last 5 years. In March 2023, Yihan Guang, who was 9-year-old at the time, sets a world record in 3x3 with an average time of 4:69. 3 months later, he breaks his own record and it's now 4:48.
The greatest of all time, the GOAT, of course, is Felix. 4, 5, 6s he fixes like they're in his double helix. World record average holder is Yihan Guang. Hits over 100 cubes by the time this song was sung. Killer Cube, Monarch, the Spark, the Shark, Max Park. Always leaving everyone looking like a question mark. We are Cubers. We are Cubers.
The fastest selling toy in the world. Violated every toy industry standard.
Solving Rubik's Cube.
Rubik's Cube.
Rubik's Cube.
Rubik Cube.
Rubik's Cube.
Rubik's Cubes.
The Rubik Cube is something for the people and not for the robots.
43 quintillion.
Never got one right.
252 quadrillion.
The people who can solve a Rubik's Cube has to be the geekiest geek of all.
3 trillion.
They make me incredibly anxious.
274 billion.
I have thrown a Rubik's Cube from a moving vehicle.
489 million.
Only a 7-year-old could do it.
Now I remember why I put this down here in the first place.
856,000 flat.
What's the point?
All the time I'm wondering about the impact of the cube. It probably is because the cube as an object, as a challenge, doesn't need any kind of language. These kind of simple forms and shapes are everywhere. You can find it in religions, you can find it as a very basic knowledge. And the connection for that, it's important, I believe. There is always a way for a solution. If today is not everything is good, it doesn't mean tomorrow cannot be better. Depends on you.